substance is the raw material out of which all languages are formed. Imagine that we have a cake, and that is language. And we say this cake has substance, the raw material. What does a cake have? Flour, eggs, milk. That's the raw material. So what do language have? Language has substance. Substance is the raw material. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Substance is the raw material out of which all languages are formed, and it consists of the phonic substance. The phonic substance includes all the sounds that human beings can make. So it's not the sounds of Spanish or English or Chinese, it's all the sounds we can make. The graphic, all the sounds that human beings can make to communicate through language. All the graphemes, no, sorry, through language. I will change that. The graph, all the phonemes, this is what I should have written. Well, I'm going to change this definitely. All the phonemes of all languages. The graphic substance is the written representation of the sounds made to communicate through language. That is, all the graphemes of all languages. So the graphemes of Spanish and English are the same, almost the same, because in Spanish, for example, we have a written accent which is not used in English, or we have the letter ñ, which is a different grapheme, but most of the graphemes are the same. But if we think of the graphemes of Chinese or Arabic, or well, each language has different graphemes. Sometimes there is overlapping. Overlapping means superposición, intersección, o sea, they are the same. Like almost all the graphemes are the same in Spanish and English. And all languages have functions and notions. Let's start with functions. Functions are the jobs we do with language, the speaker's intention at the moment of speaking. They are stated with the gerund. Okay, now here there is some grammar that we need to review. What's the ending of a gerund in English? You can write it in the chat. What's the ending of a gerund?
ing.
ing. And what's the ending of a present participle in English? ing. Yes, ing. So the ending ing in English is used for two different grammatical functions, the gerund and the present participle. I'm writing this in the chat. Oh, no sé por qué no gerund. The gerund and the present participle. Now, when is a word a gerund and when is it a present participle? In form, they are the same. So if I ask you in isolation, is the word coming, beginning, a present participle or a gerund? In isolation, you cannot say, you cannot answer that question because it depends on the context. A word ending in ing is a present participle when it has an adjectival function, like, for example, if I say an interesting book, an annoying person. Those words ending in ing are present participles because they have an adjectival function. And also they are present participles when they are used, when the word with ing is used in the progressive tenses. For example, if I say, I am speaking, I am reading, I am taking down notes, those words ending in ing are present participles. So words ending in ing can have to, or do have rather than can have to
Function.
to grammatical functions. To grammatical functions. They can be either a gerund or a present participle. They are a present participle when they have an adjectival function, like an interesting book, an annoying person, and they are a present participle when they are used in the progressive aspect. I am reading, I am speaking. Now, they are gerunds. Words with the ing ending are gerunds when they have a nominal function. And when do words ending in ing have a nominal function? Cuando en español lo puedo traducir como un infinitivo. Y eso es algo, bueno, el año pasado fue una cursada bastante atípica, irregular, cursada entre comillas, pero algo que yo insisto, y además sí han hecho composiciones en lengua 2, mis alumnos de lengua 2 del segundo B, y es algo que yo insisto en las composiciones, porque ustedes en general tienden a pensar que si es infinitivo en español, lo traduzco como infinitivo en inglés. Y en general, el infinitivo en español, y esto es gramática comparada, que del nuevo plan desaparece, desafortunadamente, el infinitivo en español es el verbo, o verboide, mejor dicho, que tiene función nominal. Y en inglés, la mayoría de las veces usamos the gerund with a nominal function. Entonces, si yo quiero decir, no sé, pescar es mi pasatiempo favorito, o leer abre la cabeza, la mente, lo que sea, how would you make those sentences?
Fishing.
Fishing is my favorite sport. Reading broadens your mind. Okay? Right, okay? So the ing in English has can have a nominal function. It can be a present participle when it has an adjectival function or when it is used in the progressive aspect. But sometimes the ing has a nominal function, like and also when it is used after prepositions. I am interested in, I don't know, fishing. I am interested in reading fiction. Que también en español yo diría, me interesa leer ficción, me interesa pescar. O sea, after a preposition in Spanish, bueno, no sería en ese caso en español una preposición, pero después de preposiciones in English we should use the gerund, okay? So when I have words with ing, we should know whether it is a gerund or whether it is a present participle. Y ya lo vamos a ver más adelante, que a veces puede ser uno a la otra. A ver si, let's see if you visiting. Visiting professors. In fact, in that noun phrase, visiting can be a present participle or a gerund. For example, you're going to tell me, but think. If I say, visiting professors is not advisable for students. Visiting professors is not advisable for students. Or similar, visiting professors should not be allowed. Ahí puede ser cualquiera de las dos. In the first one, visiting professors is not advisable for students. What's the function of visiting?
Adjectival.
No, yeah.
Yes, visitar profesores no es aconsejable. Ahora, en la segunda, cuando les dije visiting professors should not be allowed, ahí puede ser una o la otra. Because suppose another sentence, and you're going to tell me the function, the grammatical function. Visiting professors from Europe were not welcome in our local university. You should write it down. Visiting professors from Europe were not welcome in our local university.
Adjectival function.
Why? How can you paraphrase that?
Professors who are visiting.
That's it. Good. Nosotros en español diríamos profesores visitantes o invitados o algo por el estilo. Ahora, fíjense en la oración, visiting professors should not be allowed. It can be either a gerund or a present participle. Why? Visiting professors who come from other places should not be allowed. We should work only with local professors. Or visiting professors should not be allowed because that is not correct for students to do. And in that case, it's a gerund, okay? So do you understand the difference between a gerund and a present participle? These are things, that you should already know. And although it's not part of linguistics, but if I talk about the gerund or the present participle, you need to know the difference. Is that okay? Does anyone have any questions concerning this? No? No questions? Okay. Well, no? Okay, right. So anyway, we go back to our notes, and perhaps we are going to start reading from the very beginning, but I stopped because the word gerund appears here, and in third year you need to know the difference between a gerund and a present participle. Well, language has substance. Substance is the raw material out of which all languages are formed. Like, as I was saying, what's the substance of a cake? Eggs and flour and milk and butter. But we can make hundreds of different cakes because we combine the elements in different ways. That's what happens with language. There is a raw material, and then each language, Spanish and English and French and Chinese and Portuguese and whatever the language, take a portion of that substance. Now, what does the substance of a language consist of? Well, the phonic substance. The phonic substance is or consists of all the sounds that human beings can make to communicate, all the phonemes of all languages, the graphic substance, the written representation of the sounds made to communicate through language, all the graphemes of all languages. And what are functions? The jobs that we do with language, the speaker's intention at the moment of speaking. They are stated with a gerund, that is the ing. Functions are universal. In all languages, people apologize, make a request, offer, accept, reject, etc. To have an idea, ya les voy a subir esto. For example, suppose I say, be careful. What's the function of that utterance? What was my intention?
Advice.
Warning.
Warning. Yes, warning, I should say. Yes. Now, yes, and remember that you should state functions in the gerund. Now, suppose if I say, if I were you, I wouldn't go. What's the function of this utterance?
Advice.
Well, but you should state it in the gerund.
Advising.
Yes, or giving advice, I should say, giving advice. Would you like some tea?
Requesting.
Offering.
Offering.
Yes, offering, or making an offer. Yes, please.
Accepting.
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 No, thanks.
Denying.
Rejecting.
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 It was not me. I didn't do that. What's a function?
Giving an excuse.
Denying.
Denying. All right, good. So do you understand what functions are?
Yeah.
Yes.
And functions
Yes.
are universal because in all languages, we offer things, we accept things, we refuse things, we sometimes deny things that people believe we have done and we haven't, and we greet and we apologize. For example, what's a function if I say, I'm so sorry?
Apologizing.
Apologizing.
Apologizing, okay. Uh, can you, okay, so do you have an idea? I'm going to upload this of different functions. And that's very important when you are teaching to understand the functions. Once it happened to me, I was teaching at high school, second year or third year, and I think it was second year. Imagine the language, the level of language that you teach in secondary school, 3 periods a week, public secondary school is not very high level. And in the same lesson, I had these questions. Can you tell me the time? Can you swim? Can you speak English? Can you come to my party? Okay, all those questions begin with can you, but the function is different. Uh, if I say, can you swim? Can you speak English? What's a function?
Ability.
Ability.
Sorry?
Ability.
Well, but functions should be stated. That is a
ING.
function. Asking about ability. Asking about ability. Now, if I say, can you help me? Can you tell me the name of the book? What is that? Can you pass me the salt? Is that asking
Making a
about
request.
ability?
Making a request.
Making a request. Very good. And the functions are different, and so the answers are different. Because if I ask you, can you swim? What's the answer?
Yes, I
Yes,
can.
I
Yes, I
can.
can, or no, I can't.
Uh-huh.
But if I say, can you pass me the salt? What's the answer? Or what do you do?
Sure.
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 Drink.
Or you pass me the salt, and perhaps you don't even say anything. And I have to, you have to teach, or we have to teach our students that not all questions beginning with can you should be answered with yes, I can, or no, I can't. Which questions are answered with yes, I can, or no, I can't?
Yes, no questions.
The questions which fulfill which function?
Ability.
Yes, asking about ability. Entonces tenemos que decir a los estudiantes, mira, si te preguntan por habilidad, sí, decir yes, I can o no, I can. Pero si te preguntan, can you tell me the time? No le vas a decir yes, I can. Porque estás hablando con alguien y te va a decir, pero escúchame, que eso es gracioso. Si yo a alguien voy por la calle y le digo, por favor, ¿me puedes decir la hora? Sí, puedo. Me está cargando. Is that okay? So what I have to do is to make a difference between the question and say, well, today we are going to read these questions, number 1, 4, 6, and 5, whatever. So what are we doing with these questions? We are asking about ability. So you should answer, yes, I can, no, I can't. And in another class, I said, oh, do you remember that we didn't answer some of those questions? Okay, they begin with can I, but we don't answer them with yes, I can, no, I can't. We answer them with what we are asked for. Can you tell me the time? Yes, it's 9 o'clock. Okay, so it's also important this year you will be planning for didactics, and this is a concept that you will be repeating throughout, the concept of function. Do you understand what functions are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Now, for example, well, you will not be asked to make a long list of functions with their exponents, but the list is worth reading, la que voy a subirles. It will also help you when you are planning a class for didactics. For example, situation 1, husband about to go out and wife says, it's raining. What's the function there? Warning, husband will probably take his umbrella. Situation 2, little child with a ball in his hand to go and play outside in the garden. And mother says, it's raining. So as you can see, the utterance is the same. It's raining. But when wife said this to her husband, the function was warning. And now mother is saying this to a child who is going out. And so the function is prohibiting. Don't go out in the rain. Yes, you will get wet and so on and so forth. Do you understand? So it's the same utterance with different functions. Situation 3. Mother gets home, son is not mowing the lawn, cortando el césped. And son says, it's raining. So what is he doing? He is making an excuse or giving a reason, stating a reason, okay? So you see the same language exponents, the same utterance can fulfill different
Functions.
functions. The same language or linguistic exponents, it's raining. By linguistic exponents, we mean words, can be used for fulfilling different functions. By the way, this is a collocation, to fulfill a function. Conversely, that is said in an opposite way, one function can be fulfilled through different language exponents. For example, making a request. That is a function. But as you can see here, we have a number of different exponents to fulfill this function. Can you please open the window? Could you open the window, please? Open the window, will you? Would you mind opening the window? So all these are different
Language exponents.
language
Exponent.
exponents, linguistic exponents that are used to fulfill the same function. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so now we are going to see one function, apologizing. This is the function. Can you think of different linguistic exponents? Two, at least two. For apologizing, two different linguistic exponents.
Sorry, I was late.
Sorry, yeah, sorry, I am late. Another language exponent for apologizing.
I didn't mean to.
Oh, I didn't mean to be late. Maybe, yes, depending on the situation, maybe, yes. So as you can see, one function can be fulfilled through different language exponents. And one linguistic exponent can be used to fulfill different functions. For example, if I say, can you what can you use can you for which functions?
Asking for permission.
For example, can you
Can you
let
open
me
the
in?
door?
Well, making a request, that would be, yes. Can you open the door? You're not asking, but can you let me in? Asking for permission. Good. Asking for permission. Can you let me in? Another exponent making a request. Can you open the window? Another exponent asking, another function, sorry. Another function asking about ability. Can you swim? Okay, so can you, the linguistic exponents or exponent, can you, can be used for different functions. Making a request, can you open the door? Asking for permission, can you let me in? Can you let me use your phone? Or asking about ability, can you swim? Is that okay?
Yes.
Well, so far we've said that what are the elements of substance of language? The phonic substance,
Phonic substance,
the
the graphic
substance,
substance,
functions,
functions,
Function.
Notion.
and
notions.
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 What are notions? Notions are the categories, please, categories with a main accent on the first syllable. Categories, categories, into which we organize reality. Notions are also universal. In all languages, people deal with topics such as quantity, existence, possession, time. To have an idea of all the different notions we fulfill when we speak, you can read The Threshold Level, the same book that I will upload, page 48. You will not be asked to make in this subject, in my subject, a long list of notions and exponents, but to have an idea of the different notions. For example, as well as with functions, one language exponent can fulfill different notions. As it got dark, we couldn't keep on playing as it got dark. So what's the notion? What is the idea? When we talk about notions, we mean ideas, concepts. What is the idea behind reason? As it got dark, they got into the car and left. Time, yes, at the moment when it got dark, they got into the car and left. Conversely, the other way around, the same notion can be fulfilled through different language exponents. For example, we couldn't keep on playing as it was dark. That's reason. But also I can express reason by saying we couldn't keep on playing because it got dark. We couldn't keep on playing due to the fact that it got dark. So here we see different language exponents used to fulfill the same notion, the notion of reason. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so all in all, what are the elements that make up the substance of language? The phonic substance, all the phonic substance, the graphic substance,
functions.
Functions and notions.
and functions and notions. Oh, functions, OG, functions, and notions. So, why are these the elements of the substance of language? These elements are common to all languages, But it's not that in one language we find all the phonemes and all the graphemes, and the functions and notions are the same in all cultural groups. People apologize, ask for permission, make an invitation, etc. But of course, the language used in each culture changes, and the same happens with notions. Now, each language has form. So, look at this. Here it says language has substance. And it doesn't say each language, it doesn't say a language, but language as a system of communication. All languages, it doesn't matter which, all languages have some phonemes, some graphemes, functions, and notions. Now, each language, each particular language has its own form. The form of a language is described when analyzing the system of a language. These are the different levels of the system of language: phonetics, morphology, syntax, and semantics. And morphology and syntax are the major components of grammar. Each language takes a set of phonemes from the phonic substance. Set meaning conjunto. ¿Vieron cuando decimos un set de maquillaje, un set de herramientas? That the meaning is un conjunto. Each language takes a set of phonemes from the phonic substance. Sometimes there is overlapping when we analyze the sounds of two languages. For example, in both English and Spanish, we have f, s, n, and they are the same. Yes, they have the same realization, the same pronunciation. But it doesn't mean that all the consonants are the same and all the vowels are the same. But there is some overlapping. Also, there may be overlapping when we analyze the graphemes of two languages. For example, concerning the graphemes of consonants, the overlapping between Spanish of vowels, because consonants, vowels. The overlapping between Spanish and English is complete. And why am I changing the word vowels instead of consonants? I said that a few minutes ago.
Because of the
Because of
phonemes.
the ñ.
Por la ñ, por ejemplo. La ñ y el acento ortográfico, pero bueno, en cuanto a en consonantes no es exactamente lo mismo between the two languages, because in Spanish we have ñ and not in English. But all the other consonants are the same. And vowels are exactly the same. Yes, the grapheme, not the pronunciation. I'm talking about the graphic substance and the graphemes. But there is no overlapping at all with the Chinese graphemes. They have other graphemes. Moreover, each language has its own system of morphemes. For the plural, there is overlapping between Spanish and English. In Spanish, I say libro and libros for the plural. In the English, I say book and books for the plural. So in both languages, we use this to indicate plural. Besides, the rules of syntax change across languages, as well as the semantic meaning of words. Question: why do we speak about the substance of language, but the form of a language? Take 3 minutes to think of the answer. Take 3 minutes to think of the answer, according to what we have just said. One more minute, and I listen to you or I read you in the chat. Why do we talk about the substance of language and the form of a language? Okay, I listen to you.
Means because substance is the raw material out of which all languages are formed.
Yes,
Phonic,
substance is
graph,
common to all languages.
all
Good.
languages.
Uh-huh.
And
Just a
we
minute.
speak about the form. I'm sorry.
Okay, substance. Let me read these answers. I think that it's because all languages have substance without distinction, but the form of a language, because each language has its own form, because it is a raw material out of which all languages are formed. All languages have a phonic, a graphic substance, functions, and notions. The form of a language is related to the analysis of the system of each language, of each natural language. Good, good. That is the answer. You got that. I'm going to stop sharing this. And I'm going to copy the contents of Unit 1 in the chat. Of course, then I'm going to share the syllabus, but you will see that, well, with this, we have already dealt with the first topic of Unit 1, substance, the substance of language, substance and form. Okay, and then it says sounds, the sounds and sound patterns of language. As a matter of fact, we are not going to review all the contents we studied in phonetics. We are going to review only two concepts: phoneme and allophone. Okay, and that's all we are going to say concerning phonetics, the first level of the structure of language. What is a phoneme? Oh, perhaps you were not taught.
The smallest unit in contrast.
The smallest unit of contrast in a language. All right, good. First of all, when we think of a word, when I was talking about this, in phonetics. Oh no, with you at the beginning of this class. I don't know. You know what? When I teach at Lenguas Vivas, I move from one class to another, and I remember what I say in one room and in another room. Now I am sitting at home, and I see very few people. I see some pictures and sometimes a letter, and so then I don't remember what I said to one group and what I said to another group. Yes, we belong to the privileged minority who has access to education. We went to primary school, to secondary school, and now we are studying at college level. And there are so many people all over the world who don't know to read and write because they didn't have access to education, to formal education. Anyway, they can use a language. So a language is first oral or written?
Oral.
Oral. For each individual, first we speak, and then if we are lucky, we learn to read and write. And also, if we think of the different civilizations, even these days, there are many civilizations who don't have a system of writing. Yes, but they use language, they use oral language. And so when we think of a word, yeah, I was saying this in phonetics. When we think of a word, we should think of the oral manifestation of language. we belong to this culture. As I was saying, we have access to formal education, and we think of a word and we think of the written word. But for people all over the world, even those who don't know to read and write, they know oral words. And what are words made of? Of
Phonemes.
phonemes. That's it. Very good. Yes. Words are made of phonemes. Y me va a decir, ¿y las letras? Well, that's for the written word, but not everybody has access to the written word, okay? So that's why we say the phoneme is the smallest unit of contrast in language, the smallest unit of language. Y la letra no es la unidad más pequeña, la letra tiene que ver con la escritura, que es un accidente que nos pasa a los afortunados, ¿no? All right. And why is so a phoneme is the smallest unit of contrast in language, and why is it a unit of contrast?
If we change one phoneme, we can generate a new word.
A new word in contrast, okay? In contrast, in linguistics means with a different meaning. So I repeat this, a phoneme is the smallest unit of contrast in language. And in contrast means that we generate a different meaning, with a different meaning. So if I say, for example, pen and pan, pen is the element I use for writing and pan is the element I use for cooking. Or if I say pen and pet, pen is an object with ink used for writing and pet is an animal that can be tamed and stays at home. So that's a phoneme. And what is an allophone?
A variation of a phoneme.
Yes, a variation of a phoneme. Yes. It is a variant of a phoneme. Allophones are alternative pronunciation of phonemes in a particular language that never affect the meaning. It is a concrete realization of a phoneme. Very good. Yes. So in English, for example, I'm going to write this in phonetics. Well, no, I'm not going to write it in phonetics. I'm going to utter this, to say this. For example, if I say no with diphthong O with schwa, no, that's British English, we have diphthong O. And the Americans, what do they say instead of no?
No.
Yeah.
No, with lip rounding, no, instead of no. But anyway, the meaning doesn't change, yes? Lo mismo sucedería en español si yo digo cerro o cerro, with or without friction. With friction, I say cerro, like the way we pronounce that phoneme in the north of Argentina. Without friction, cerro. But the meaning doesn't change. So those are different allophones. Whereas when you change a phoneme, you are changing meaning. And that's all. Well, and we are going to say that phonemes can be classified into consonants, vowels, and two semi-vowels. And that's all we are going to say because we studied all this in Phonetics 1 in detail. And well, the idea is not to review all the contents of Unit 1. By the way, I'm going to upload on the platform a book by Duel, which will be like a manual to resort to certain contents. But so far, I have not used it. It doesn't mean that you need to have it printed, but sometimes I will ask you to read certain chapters, but I'm going to make the whole book available to you. Okay, a ver, Leandro, Miss, could you share the link of the platform again? Yes, sure. Bueno, la plataforma es Edmodo, ¿no? Que creo que están inscritos en Edmodo. Okay, okay, thank you. All right. Ya una vez que están inscritos en Edmodo, the only thing you have to do is to join the class, but you are already a member. All right. So that's all we are going to say, and we were saying that the first content is substance and form. The second content of Unit 1 is sounds. The sounds and the sound patterns of language, and for that, the only thing we are going to do is to make a difference between phoneme and allophone. Good. The next content in the in Unit 1 is morphology. I'm sure you must have studied morphology, but we are going to review. And there is a chapter that you can read by Yule for morphology. Well, first of all, we are going, what is a morpheme? A morpheme is, you can write it down, the smallest unit of meaning or the smallest unit of form in language. The smallest unit of meaning or the smallest unit of form. For example, if I say rain, that's a unit of meaning. It's related to water falling from the sky. By the way, it's raining here where I am. I live near Profesorado, 5 blocks away. So that's why, and there is thunder also, that's another unit of meaning. So what are units of meaning? Content words, words that have meaning on their own, yes? But also in the definition, you can read its smallest unit of meaning or the smallest unit of form. For example, take this word. Does it have any meaning? It is an article, but what, for example, if I say thunder, thunder is a noun and it has a definition. The noise made in the sky when there is a storm. For example, rain. It may be a noun or it may be a verb, and it means that water is falling but from the sky, from the clouds. So there is a definition. The is an article, but is there a definition for the? Hello?
No, no.
No. So that's a unit of form. Why do we use words that do not have a meaning? Well, to give form to language. Those are form words or grammatical words, and they are units of form. Now, what about this word? Let me see. Well, as a matter of fact, in this word, we distinguish 3 morphemes. Play, which is a unit of meaning. ER is a unit of form that indicates the word has become a noun, the person who. And the ending S, that is a unit of form also, that indicates plural. Can you see?
Yes.
Play is a unit of meaning. ER is a unit of form that indicates the person who, and has turned the verb into an adjective, into a noun, sorry, and the S that is also a unit of form, in this case indicating plural. So a morpheme is the smallest unit of form or the smallest unit of meaning. Now, morphemes can be classified into free morphemes and bound morphemes. Free and bound morphemes. Free morphemes stand by themselves in writing. Free morphemes stand by themselves in writing. and bound morphemes are always attached to, and we are going to complete this in a short while, but remind me that we need to complete this. Is okay? So free morphemes can be classified into lexical free morphemes and functional free morphemes. Lexical free morphemes have meaning on their own. What we have also described as lexical words or content words. In this group, we have which categories?
Nouns,
Nouns,
verb,
main verbs,
and adjectives.
Adjectives.
adjectives, and adverbs. Mainly,
Adverb.
yes, but mainly these four word classes: nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and main verbs. And they form an open class. Perhaps you didn't know this. They form an open class. This means that there can be introductions and losses. Introductions are the result of discoveries or inventions. So imagine a new species of birds is discovered somewhere, and we need to give a name to those birds or to a plant. And so discoveries. They discovered something new. And inventions. You know, in electronics, I suppose there are inventions every day, and they need to be given a word. Those inventions, of course. And so why is it that we have new nouns or new verbs and new adjectives? Well, because of two reasons. Either because something is discovered or something is invented. And so, and why do we have losses? Well, there are many things that are no longer used. And so those words, imagine, for example, the shields that soldiers used to wear, Roman soldiers used to wear, or I don't know, in the medieval times. Those weapons are no longer used. So those words have disappeared from the lexicon. Yeah? Okay, so that's the meaning of they form an open class. An open class means that there can be introductions due to inventions or discoveries and losses because things are no longer used. And then we have functional free morphemes. What are functional free morphemes? They do not have meaning on their own. And in this group, we find articles, personal pronouns, prepositions, modal verbs, auxiliary verbs, conjunctions. I repeat, articles, prepositions, modal verbs, auxiliary verbs, conjunctions. And they form a closed class because it is unlikely, I'm not saying impossible, I'm saying unlikely to have introductions or losses. And you may say, why unlikely? Well, you know, for example, in some parts of the United States, more and more people are saying you all for you in the plural. Instead of just saying you, they say you all. Now, what's going to happen? Maybe in 100 years' time, in 200 years' time, they have a pronoun for the second person singular you and a pronoun for the second person plural y'all. Or perhaps this tendency disappears. We don't know what's going to happen. For example, vosotros has disappeared from the Spanish used in the Americas. They still use it in Spain, but not in the Americas. So these introductions or losses are not so frequent, but we can have. That's why I said unlikely, yes. Normally, there are no introductions or losses, but in time, well, as I was saying, with these pronouns, we can have introductions or losses. For example, what's going to happen with the pronoun vos for the second person singular? Well, in Argentina, we use vos, we don't use tú. But, you know, with this exposure of children to neutral Spanish, children are very young and they use tú because they watch cartoons. So maybe one day people in Argentina no longer use vos and they use tú. We don't know, but those are speculations. That's why we call it a closed class, because if there are changes, they take many, many years to happen. So far, so good?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, miss.
And then we have bound morphemes, which they can also be classified into derivational bound morphemes and inflectional bound morphemes. Let's take derivational bound morphemes. When they are used as suffixes, they normally change the grammatical category of a word. For example, let's take, I'm thinking of examples I don't want to use. Let's take, for example, this ending. So I have study, which is a verb. If I add this ending, I have student, which is a
Now.
Noun.
So I'm changing an adjective, a verb, into a noun. Let's take this ending. Displace as a verb, and if I say displacement, also I'm changing a verb into a noun. Let's take this ending. As an ending, it takes only one L. Beauty, it's a noun, and if I say beautiful, that's a
Adjective.
adjective. So I'm changing a noun into an adjective. So normally, when derivational bound morphemes are used as suffixes, they change the grammatical category of the word. But I said normally, it's not always the case. For example, If I say use, that's a noun, and useful, that's an adjective. But if I say useless, that's the opposite of use. So here, less is changing both the grammatical category from noun to adjective, but also meaning no use. So in this case, the suffix less is changing both the grammatical category of the word use and the meaning. Let's take the ending ish. If I say reddish, red is an adjective and reddish is an adjective. What I am changing is the meaning. Reddish is sort of red, but not exactly red. Can you see? So I am changing meaning. Sería el equivalente a rojizo, pero no en realidad rojo. But in the word child, childish, there the ending ish is changing the grammatical category. Child is a noun and childish is like a child, a childish attitude that is like a child. So the meaning is not changing, but it's changing the grammatical category. So that's why at the beginning I said these derivational morphemes, when they are used as suffixes, they usually change the grammatical category, but sometimes they can change
The meaning.
the meaning, as in reddish or useless. Yes. Now, derivational bound morphemes change the meaning when they are used as prefixes. By the way, you say pre-war, pre-war, pre-guerra, meaning before, with vowel number 1, prefixes. For example, if I say unhappy, what's the meaning? Not happy.
Not happy.
I am changing the meaning. Yes. Or for example, suppose I say co-pilot, meaning together with a pilot. Etc., etc. Yes. So when they are used as prefixes, they change the meaning. And I'm going to finish in just a few minutes because I have another class. Now we have inflectional bound morphemes. They are used as suffixes. And they do not change meaning, but they indicate a special aspect. They do not change meaning or the grammatical category. They do not change meaning or the grammatical category, but they indicate a special aspect of that grammatical category. For example, if I say book, what that is, what is the meaning of that S? What is it indicating?
Plural.
Plural. If I say, for example, older, what is ER indicating?
Comparative.
Comparative.
Comparative. If I say arrived, what's ED indicating?
Past.
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 Okay. Now, I want you to compare for our next meeting the meaning or the function, the sort of morpheme of ER in these words. And EN in these words. In both, they are bound morphemes, but what sort and why? That's a question for next class. And I'm going to upload Yule's book so that you review this topic by reading morphology. But it's just revision. Okay, and we have to complete one sentence. Which sentence? Bound morphemes are always attached to a
Pre-lexical morpheme.
Lexical morpheme. Well, I'm going to upload, as I said, this on Edmodo. If you have taken this class, of course, you do not need to take the class in the 6th period. Salvo que haya gente nueva, la sexta, por más que sea de tercero B, ustedes no saben si está en tercero A o en tercero B, tampoco voy a avanzar el doble para no ser injusta por si alguien piensa que va a estar en tercero B y se une en la sexta nada más. Así que por hoy sería todo. En realidad cumplimos las 3 horas de clase de esta semana con lo de ayer y con lo de hoy. ¿De qué tercero? ¿Qué sé yo? Pero yo mañana tampoco avanzaría con temas, porque en todo caso, si hay gente que no se unió, estaría con esa gente. Mañana tendría tercero B. Así que bueno, nos vemos la próxima. Presencial, virtual, no tengo idea, señales de humo. Somehow, yes. But it's been nice to have such a big group of people there. Remember, you have a task to think of and to read Yu's book, the chapter on morphology. That's all for tonight. See you. Have a good
See
night.
you.
See you, Miss. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.